Just when you finish it, just hold it like that. And don't just avoid. Otherwise, the recording is doing? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, folks. So in the last class, we saw something important. In the last class, we studied how an optimal contract is worked out, which determines the optimal effort level and the optimal wage, given that the effort level is perfectly verifiable. And what the important learnings, what we have is, we have a principle who is maximizing. So basic idea is that the principle designs a contract, right? The principle wants to maximize his utility function. The agent, given that the agent has to be given at least the minimum reservation wage. So what does the story go? The story then, the equilibrium really is where the agent is on his reservation utility frontier, and then we work out an optimal contract. Right? And we said that the optimal contract from the point of view of the agent really depends upon what the reservation utility of the agent is. Right? For different levels of reservation utilities, you get different optimal contracts. So the important learning from that is, if you want to improve opportunity, if you want to improve working conditions for people, if you want to get better wages and less effort, then you obviously have to provide people more opportunities so that the reservation wages go up. Right? So perhaps that's something what the MG does. What the MG really does is, does everybody know what is MG? Right? Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment. Do you know how it works? It provides employment to workers in the slack season. Right? The general argument for MG is that during the slack season, the demand for labor is less. So by providing employment, right, it increases the demand for labor and gives jobs. The argument that we have made is a little bit different. It gives you a different focus on engineering. What it says is, in the slack season, by providing an alternative opportunity, the wage contract is going to be different. Now, can you distinguish between the two effects? If you wanted to actually see which effect is stronger, we will identify how does this effect as of the contract work differently from the usual argument with the MG of increasing the demand for labor. How do the two arguments work differently? Is there a difference between the two arguments?
So can you repeat this? I am not getting which argument.
Well, the standard MG argument is that MG increases the demand for labor. Right? And if you are bothered to study what we did in the last class, we said that what if the reservation utility changes, then you have a different optimal contract. And if you have more opportunities, then the reservation utilities increase, and therefore optimal contracts are different. Can you distinguish between the two arguments if you wanted to actually study? So MG does two things. One is increases the demand for labor. It also provides an alternative opportunity. Right? Can you tell me how the two arguments you work differently? How do the two arguments work differently? If you wanted to actually look at them from the data and see which of the arguments is working, which are the two? Because those are two different mechanisms, aren't they? So which of the two mechanisms are stronger? In the sense, if you want to look at it from the data, what kind of relationships would you look for? Well, what is happening is, what is the standard argument? The standard argument is, this is a demand for labor, this is a supply for labor, this is the wage rate, this is the amount of effort. This is the number of people who are employed in. What MG does is, can you graphically tell me what MG would do? If I have to draw the impact of the MG on this, what increases the demand for labor. So this is the new. So what will happen with this? The wage will be W1 and the employment will be N1. Increases employment. The argument that we are trying to make yesterday is you have the effort level here, you have the wage level here. the reservation utility frontier works like this, and then there is a curve here, right, which is essentially pi dash e of x is equal to v dash e by w dash, whatever, x, right? Right, so it's essential, right? Okay. So what happens with this? With this is, so this is a reservation utility, right? And the equilibrium is u of w minus v of e, right? So this is u dash of w, right? Now, if the reservation utility increases, would this mean a downward shift in the indifference curve or an upward shift? So first, tell me how the indifference curves look like in this graph. You have to look at indifference curves between E and W, right? So what do you mean by the indifference curve? A combination of U and W, which will keep the consumer on the same level of utility. So how would the indifference curves look like? Is this the indifference curve or is this the indifference curve? Yeah. So why is the shape of the indifference curve like this? Because as W increases, to keep it the same level of utility, effort also has to increase. So it can be a concave indifference, convex to the origin indifference curve, right? That's only meant for substitutes. But these are not substitutes, right? Okay. Do you know why the curve is like this? Why is the curve concave? So why is this curve not like this? If you have to increase in curve, why is this curve not like this? Why is this curve like this?
First wages increase, effort increase, after optimum time it will.
Because what are the assumptions that we have made on the utility function and the effort level? We have said as wages increase, the utility increases at a decreasing rate, whereas this utility increases at an increasing rate. So what it says is, if you increase wages from here to here, your utility increases a lot more, and so effort levels have to increase much more to keep you on the same utility curve. Whereas at higher levels of wages, marginal utility doesn't increase so much, right? And therefore utility doesn't increase so much, and therefore the effort doesn't have to increase that much to keep you on the same utility frontier, right? And therefore you get a curve which is like this. Sure? Okay. Now tell me one thing. Would improvements in U bar mean a downward shift on the indifference curve or an upward shift on the indifference curve? Why? If I wanted to represent indifference curve as a higher resolution utility, would I have to draw indifference curve below this or above this? Why? Because for the same wage it would mean lower effort. Right? So, if there is a better opportunity, the indifference curve moves down because I have got higher reservation utility. Because I have got alternative occupations now. Right? So I can, for example, leave the city, leave the village and go and work in the city. So which would mean that my reservation utility in the village would go up. Which would mean that I would have U1 bar, right? This would be my, in the optimal contract, this would be the determinant of the wage and the effort level. So what has happened? Has the wage increased? And what has happened to the effort level? It has gone down. So which would mean that optimal contracts for farm labor would be more lucrative to workers. Why? Not because anything has happened in the farm, but because the reservation utility for workers has gone up. For example, if women are working as domestic servants in your house, and if say some alternative opportunity, say a big hotel starts around and nearby, a 5-star hotel is opened nearby, and the 5-star hotel is going to give these women jobs in housekeeping, then it means that household levels will have to recontract in such a way that under optimal contracts the domestic servants will work less and will actually get a higher wage. Right? So do you see a difference between this argument and this argument? Do you see? So suppose if I give you data and I ask you to test this hypothesis, right? So engineering is having two effects. One is obviously it increases the demand for labor. The other argument of course is providing an alternative employment opportunity. Right? So which of the two arguments do you think, how will you be able to, so I give you some data, how will you be able to check for these two arguments? How will you say which of the two arguments is working? With real data. Think. What sets humans aside from other species is the ability to think. Use that. All of us here to learn this subject. No? And learning is learning to use it. It's not looking at these lectures, writing something in the exams and getting your marks. Then we find it hard to place you. Yeah, so what do you think is the difference between the two arguments? In both the cases, the wage will go up, but this says employment will go up, whereas this does not say anything about employment. It says effort levels will go down. Right? So here, the employment level will go up in this argument. In this argument, the effort level will go down. So how will you distinguish between this? So what you have to look for is, you look for more people but working fewer hours. So you have greater demand for farm labor. So the argument would be that wages on the agricultural sector will increase, farm wages will increase, there will be more people who will be employed, but the number of hours that they work will actually fall. Yet number of hours that they work will actually fall. Right? If this argument is working. If this argument is not so, if you actually see that the number of hours that they work has not fallen, then you see that only this argument is working. Whereas you find that the actual number of people employed hasn't changed so much, but the number of hours that people work has gone down, then you will be identifying, you will be actually saying that this is what is at work. Right? That's how you do economics. You will say, okay, these are the two arguments, these are the two possible effects of MG Narega on wages, or something that's happening around your city, right? Alternative opportunities keep on coming up. This is the way it will work, right? So you can actually do this study. What you can actually do is look at Naka workers. You know Naka workers? If you go to any of the squares in the city in the morning, you'll find lots of people working with, lots of plumbers and electricians waiting to be hired. That's a spot market for labor. What they do is perfectly verifiable. Right? So it is for people, it's for employers to offer a contract. When you decide how much to pay. Right? So exactly this kind of a situation. So what you should try and find out is, if you look at labor nakas, which are otherwise identical across the cities, but in some areas there are greater employment opportunities for plumbers, etc. So they can do other things. In some areas of the city, they cannot do other things. You would expect the wage contracts to involve higher wages and lower effort levels for the plumbers and the electricians, etc. So you'll expect them to work fewer hours a day and actually earn more, okay, as plumbers, electricians, because there are other jobs available to them, right? In contrast to areas where those kinds of jobs are not available. Sure? So you understand the potential of this. See, understanding the equations is one thing. I can write the equations and you can mark those equations by heart and give them to me in the paper. But that is not what the point is. The point is to understand what is there on the board and try to see what features of society around you, which are of interest to you as economists, does it refer to, and how does one think about those things? Do you see the point? Right? Yeah? I see not very few of you see the point, but what can I do? There's nothing much that I can do about it. Right. Sure? Okay. So now let's change the situation a little bit. Okay? Let's assume that the effort level is not perfectly verified. Okay? Sure? So we come back to the classic example of where I hire somebody to sell ballpoint pens in Mumbai local, where the effort level is not completely verified. Okay, the effort level is not entirely verified. Okay, the problem now changes. Okay, we are going to think of a very simple situation where, see, the case where the agent is risk neutral and the principal is risk averse is of not much of an interest, because what does happen in that situation? It's the agent who bears all the risk and the principal gets a fixed pay. Right. Now, if the effort level is not verifiable, you cannot have the older argument that we talked about. So the principal, suppose the agent is risk averse and the principal is risk neutral. Right? Agent is risk averse and the principal is risk neutral. That was our older argument, right? And where the effort level is perfectly verified. What is the optimal wage arrangement? If the principal is risk neutral and the agent is risk, if the principal is risk neutral, yes, and the agent is risk averse, what is the optimal arrangement? The fixed wage, right? The principal bears all the risks and the agent gets a fixed wage. But obviously this will not work if the agent effort is not fully verifiable. Right? Why can it not work if the agent effort is fully verifiable? Suppose you're thinking of an agent whose job is to persuade people to open current accounts in the bank. So the bank has hired this person, as banks actually hire people to go around the city, go to all shops and single proprietary establishments and ask them whether they would like to open current accounts in their bank. Right? Now, whether a person actually goes from gully to gully in Dharavi, Mahim, Dadar and looks at shops and goes to them and convinces the actual shopkeepers that they should open accounts in their banks is not verifiable by the bank. There is no plausible way in which the bank can verify it. Right? Suppose the bank is risk neutral and the agent is risk averse. What will happen if the bank paid a fixed wage to the agent that is independent? What do you mean a fixed wage? A wage that is irrespective of how many current accounts the agent opens. The agent gets a fixed wage. What do you think will be the implications for the bank? The agent will not put in effort level because effort is costly for the agent. Right? Okay. How did we solve that problem? We said that the banks have, the principal has an objective function. Maximize the objective with respect to the constraint that the agent gets at least his reservation utility. Okay? Right? That we say is the participation constraint. But now, we now have to make sure that given that the agent agrees to take the contract, work with the bank, then it should be in the agent's own interest to put in the high level of effort rather than the low level of effort. So we need another constraint. The contract must be such that not only does the agent take the contract, which is the participation constraint, but what the agent gets from taking the contract and actually working hard must be at least as much as what the agent will get, right, from taking the contract and not putting in a high level of effort. So it should be in the agent, the contract should be such that it should be in the agent's own interest to put in a high level of effort rather than a low level of effort. This is an additional constraint that we have to build in, which is called the incentive compatibility constraint. Okay, an incentive compatibility idea is critical. What does incentive compatibility mean? It means that when work effort is not fully monitorable, the structure of the contract will have to ensure incentive compatibility. The structure of the contract will have to be such that those who take the contract have the right incentives to abide by the terms of the contract. You see this point? Yeah? Sure? So for example, if I am selling fire insurance, if I have a contract which insures my house against fire, right? And if the contract doesn't have terms which will make it mandatory for me to install firefighting equipment and do other things, right? Then what it really means is, if firefighting equipment and other things are costly, the fact that my house has been now insured actually works as an incentive for me not to install firefighting equipment. So the contract is not incentive compatible. I will take the contract, but it might not be an incentive compatible contract. So we have to introduce incentive compatibility, right? So in this case, in the case of the salesman, how will you introduce incentive compatibility?
Target sales.
Target sales. So you might say that if you sell this much, you will get an incentive, right? Because you can't really target effort. But of course, you see, so what you're doing is you're using the observed sales as a verifiable fact. You can verify the sales, you can't verify the effort, right? So the sales act as a signal of the effort level, right? And as long as, but you see, it depends upon, suppose different levels of sales are possible, any level of sales is possible for a given effort level. Any level of sales is equally likely for a given effort level. Then sales are not enough information, no? Whether you have high levels of sales or low level of sales don't tell you how much effort you have put in, right? In which case sales are not informative. But if the high level of sales is more likely, say, for a high effort level than with a low effort level, the sales will have it, and therefore you will then say that the agent's wage will actually vary with the effort level. You see? Now this is a problem. What's the problem? Because now we have moved away from the optimality idea. What is the optimality idea? The optimality idea was, what is Pareto optimality in the transaction? A Pareto optimality transaction when the agent is risk neutral and the principal, when the agent is risk averse and the principal is risk neutral, is for the principal to absorb all the risks, right? And why do you think that's Pareto optimal? Is it optimal in the sense it's morally correct for the principal to take all the risks because the agent is from a, are we saying this from a humanitarian point of view, or are we saying this from an economist's point of view? From an economist's point of view, right? Because we say that the situation is not Pareto efficient if a trade is possible which makes both the parties better. Right? Okay? Sure? So think of a principal who is risk neutral and an agent who is risk averse. The agent has a lottery which gives you an expected value of 100 rupees. This lottery will be valued by the agent at less than 100 rupees because there is risk. This lottery will be valued by the principal at exactly 100 rupees. The principal values the lottery more than the agent. Who's holding the lottery? The agent. So should there not be an exchange where the person who values something more should actually buy that from the person who values that thing less? That is where there will be gains from trade. So there will be a scope for trade to happen at a Pareto efficient mode, right? Therefore, from that point of view, not from a general point of view being kind to the agent or anything of that kind, but from the general, from the economist point of view, from the point of view of Pareto efficiency, in terms of, so if the principal is risk neutral and the agent is risk averse, if the principal holds all the risks, there is no further trade possible which will make anybody better off. That's why they are Pareto efficient. Now the problem is, if you have effort level which is not verifiable, we are saying that the agent should bear some risk. So we have moved away from Pareto efficiency. Right? We have moved away from Pareto efficiency. Right? So the first problem information does is, it creates lack of information, asymmetric information creates inefficient arrangements. So these arrangements can actually be improved on. Right? And that's why in the economy you see so many arrangements which can actually be improved on, which are not optimal arrangements. Okay? I'm going to do the formal math of it, but first let me just tell you. For example, think of agriculture. Okay, think of a farmer who's giving his land to be tilled to some other people. He is an absentee landlord. He has his farm, but he can't cultivate his farm. Right? Okay, he wants to give his farm on hire. Now suppose he is hiring workers to cultivate his farm on a spot labor market. So workers come and then he pays them a wage. Right? Suppose this is the average revenue curve of the farmer. So this is the marginal revenue curve of the farmer. This is the average revenue curve of the farmer. Right? Let this be the wage rate. W. Right? What is the farmer's marginal cost of labor? So you have labor here, the amount of labor that you use. So wage per, right? Wage per, right? Okay? Fine, wage, right? So we have the wage. So if you have the wage here, what would be the equilibrium point? MC is equal to M1, right? So the amount of land tilled will be N1. Right? Now, but is this a feasible arrangement? Do you think this is an incentive compatible